The Cleveland Browns aren't just fumbling passes this season. They're fumbling trust, talent, and possibly the entire trajectory of their franchise. Because right now, the Browns' locker room is less like a professional sport environment and more like the set of a messy reality show. The drama is thick, the alliances are shifting, and at the center of it all is one name lighting the fuse: Shaduer Sanders. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. And let's be clear, this isn't just a rookie drama storyline. No, this is a full-blown, team-shattering, career-defining fiasco. One that's exposing not just cracks, but gaping craters in the Browns' foundation. And if you think this is just about who's starting at quarterback, buckle up. We got leaks, infighting, sabotage, and what might be the slow-motion implosion of a franchise that cannot, for the life of them, get out of their own way. It starts with the locker room. Traditionally, a sacred space. What happens in there stays in there until now. Recently, that space has turned into a gossip hub hotter than TMZ on a Friday night. Sensitive details, leaking, anonymous quotes, flying, trust, evaporating like mist on Lake Erie. And behind all this chaos is a deeply divided team. Some players are rallying behind Shaduer Sanders. Others are quietly towing the company line, and a growing number are just done, over it, tired of the politics, tired of the backroom deals, and tired of watching one of the most talented quarterbacks they've ever seen getting iced out by a coaching staff that seems more focused on saving face than winning games. You got veterans whispering to reporters. You got assistant coaches venting to their sources. It's like high school with cleats. And meanwhile, Shedeur, he's benched, fully suited, full of potential, full of calm swagger, and yet still riding the pine while the Browns continue to make baffling decisions like drafting Dillon Gabriel and acting like Shedeur is some sort of emergency use only option. Why? That's the million-dollar question. Or maybe the multi-million-dollar mistake. Because Shaduer Sanders isn't just another quarterback project. He was drafted with expectations. He is the son of Deion Sanders, yes, but more importantly, he's shown the kind of arm, vision, and leadership that makes scouts salivate. People in the league are watching. Teams are circling. He should be getting developed. Instead, he's been locked in this bizarre purgatory where he's too valuable to trade, but not valuable enough to play. A security blanket, a just-in-case, a franchise hostage, and the players see it. That's where things start to really boil over. Imagine going to war every Sunday knowing one of your best weapons is stuck in a glass case labeled break only if desperate. You think that doesn't wear on morale? You think that doesn't lead to whispers like, we'd be winning if Shedeur had a shot, or they're scared as it outshine their favorites? Oh, it's happening. Loudly. And if you think the coaches are handling this gracefully, think again. Kevin Stefanski is reportedly furious about the leaks. The front office is scrambling to plug holes in the ship, while the water's already knee-high. There's this palpable vibe of fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of change. Fear of the media storm that's brewing. But here's the thing, that storm, it's already here. ESPN is sniffing around. Analysts are roasting the Browns on live TV. Even casual fans are picking up on the fact that something stinks in Cleveland, and it's not just the offense. It's the culture, the indecision, the obsession with not messing up instead of just playing to win. And look, this isn't just a Shedeur story. It's a Brown story. Because once again, this franchise is doing what it does best, getting in its own way. Just when there's a glimmer of hope, they find a way to turn the light off, drafting a generational talent, and then treating him like an afterthought. That's not just mismanagement. That's sabotage. Let's talk about the Dillon Gabriel situation. Instead of pouring resources into Sanders' development, they spent another draft pick on yet another QB. It's like hoarding quarterbacks just to say you have options, but never committing to a real plan. You don't need a quarterback buffet. You need a leader. And from all accounts, Shedeur could be that guy. He wants to be that guy. But the Browns? They're still hiding the keys to the castle, like he's not ready. Or worse, like they're afraid of what happens if he is. And you know what happens next in any locker room When leadership fumbles like that, chaos. You've got positional groups turning on coaches, wide receivers hinting they don't trust the game plan, defensive players wondering why the offense can't score and why the QB carousel is spinning for no reason. Morale is tanking. Trust is broken. And meanwhile, Sanders is just there, showing up, doing the work, keeping his head down. But the silence, it's loud. Loud enough that people are starting to ask, what is really going on here? Players talk. Agents talk. The league talks. And as whispers turn into full-on leaks, the Browns are facing a credibility crisis, not just with the media, but with their own locker room. And that's where it gets dangerous. Because you can't win games when half the team feels like they're on a sinking ship. You can't demand loyalty when your own decision-making looks like it was scribbled on a napkin 5 minutes before kickoff. And you definitely can't hold a future star hostage and expect no one to notice. It's insulting to the fans, to the league, and honestly, to Shedeur himself. Right now, fans are pissed. They're flooding comment sections, begging for answers, demanding changes. Some are even saying they're done supporting the team until the front office pulls their heads out of the sand. And who can blame them? If you watch the Browns over the years, you know dysfunction isn't new. But this feels like a slow-motion implosion, one that could have been avoided. All they had to do was give the kid a shot. But instead, they're playing politics, protecting egos, circling wagons around a strategy that makes absolutely zero sense. And every week Shedeur stays benched, that's another week of wasted development. Another week of potential being squandered for fear of upsetting the status quo. Let's be real. If they don't unleash Sanders soon, they're going to lose more than games. They're going to lose the locker room. They're going to lose fans. And they might even lose Shedeur altogether. Because if you think other teams aren't watching this mess and licking their chops, think again. The second that kid becomes available, there will be a line of GMs with blank checks and offensive coordinators ready to build around him. And what will Cleveland have? Another rebuild, another apology tour, another year of could-have-beens. It's not just bad management. It's a failure of vision. A franchise that's so allergic to risk, they're willing to sabotage their own future just to avoid short-term discomfort. And for what? To protect someone's ego? To keep a flawed system intact? At some point, you have to ask, is this about winning or is this about control? Because here's the thing about talent. It doesn't wait forever, and neither does public patience. So now we're all watching. Fans, analysts, players, the whole league, waiting to see if the Browns will finally make the move that should have happened weeks ago. Waiting to see if they'll stop treating Shaduer Sanders like a threat and start treating him like the opportunity he is. Or will they just keep spiraling, keep leaking, keep pretending everything's fine while their house burns down in broad daylight? One thing for sure, whatever happens next in Cleveland, it's going to be loud. Because when your own players are turning on your coaches, when your locker room becomes a soap opera, and when your most promising quarterback is locked on the bench for no logical reason, you're not just in a rough patch. You're in a full-blown identity crisis. So go ahead, Browns. Keep playing it safe. Keep benching your best shot at success. Just don't be surprised when the fallout gets even messier. The fan base has seen this movie before, and spoiler alert, it doesn't end well. But hey, maybe this is a wake-up call. Maybe this is a moment they finally shake off the fear, own their mistakes, and do what needs to be done. Or maybe it's just the latest chapter in the most Cleveland saga ever. If you're still holding on to hope for the Browns, drop your thoughts in the comments. Because honestly, we need to talk about this. And if you want more chaotic breakdowns just like this one, hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more meltdowns on the horizon. Because now the finger pointing isn't just behind closed doors. It's seeping out onto the field, into interviews, and all over social media. The tension? Palpable. Body language on the sidelines? Straight up icy. Players are throwing side eyes harder than the quarterbacks are throwing footballs. Coaches look like they're walking on eggshells. Every press conference sounds like a hostage video wrapped in PR buzzwords. You've got reporters asking innocent questions like, is Shedeur in the long-term plan? And the responses? A masterclass in avoidance. We're evaluating all our options. Translation, We don't want to admit we're scared to let the kid cook because we might have to explain why we didn't let him earlier. It's not just embarrassing. It's infuriating. Because again, this isn't just about one guy being benched. This is about what it means. About the kind of culture you're building when the most talented guy in the room is sidelined for politics, not performance. When decisions are made to protect reputations instead of to win games. That kind of environment, it rots a team from the inside out. And it's already happening. You got guys who were once vocal leaders going quiet. Others clearly leaking to the media because they've lost faith in the chain of command. One minute you're in the locker room, giving your all for the team, and the next, you're realizing the team isn't actually set up to win. It's set up to protect the narrative. And what happens to a team when the narrative is more important than the scoreboard? It breaks. You start losing games you should have won. Players start playing tight, like they're trying not to make a mistake instead of going for the big play. Coaches stop experimenting, stop taking risks. And that one quarterback you're trying to develop quietly behind the scenes, he starts realizing this whole operation is scared of him. Not because he's not good, but because he's too good. Let's talk about that. There's a very real possibility that Shaduer Sanders is being kept off the field not because he's not ready, but because he might be ready. And if he is, if he comes in and outshines the current starter, that means heads roll. That means coaches have to answer for their decisions. That means certain veterans who were promised the world suddenly look expendable. It's the classic NFL ego trap. Protect the veterans. Protect the scheme. Don't let the kid embarrass the house of cards. But here's the twist. The house of cards is already crumbling. You got fans booing at home games. You got banners flying overhead demanding changes. You got analysts clowning the Browns weekly for their refusal to adapt. And still, they're keeping the Ferrari in the garage while the team stalls out on the freeway. And Shedeur, he's saying all the right things publicly. He's calm, collected. But let's not pretend he doesn't see the circus happening around him. Let's not act like he's unaware of the fact that other teams will be dying to give him a shot. You think the Falcons wouldn't start him tomorrow? The Commanders? The Raiders? Half the league is quarterback starved. And here's Cleveland sitting on a golden ticket, refusing to scratch it. It's self-sabotage, but make it institutional. And now the whispers have turned into outright speculation. Are they trying to tank? Are they keeping Shedeur bench because they're already writing off the season and don't want to risk wasting his rookie clock on a lost year? If that's true, if they're thinking that many steps ahead while players are losing their minds in the locker room, it's not strategy. It's cowardice. And it's going to cost them badly because in the NFL, culture is everything. And once you lose your locker room, it's nearly impossible to get it back. Trust doesn't reset with a team meeting. Morale doesn't bounce back with a cute social media post about sticking together. Players remember. They remember who you backed. They remember who got iced out. And most of all, they remember when winning stopped being priority. And right now, that's what it looks like. It looks like a franchise more committed to protecting Kevin Stefanski's pride and the front office's paper-thin plan than to doing what's best for the team. And when players see that, they start protecting themselves. And once that happens, the whole team starts playing for contracts instead of wins, for stats instead of rings. A culture like that doesn't just fail. You feel it fail in real time. And now the question becomes, how long do they let this go on? Because the longer Shedeur sits, the worse this gets, the worse the losses feel, the louder the boos get, the more desperate the press conferences sound. Eventually, something's got to give. Either the Browns make a bold move, bench the ego, unleash the talent, and finally see what Shedeur can do, or the whole thing spirals into yet another Cleveland cautionary tale. One where you draft a star, mismanage him, and watch him walk right out the door into another franchise's Hall of Fame. And wouldn't that be the most Browns thing of all? Let's just say it now. If Shaduer Sanders ends up being the guy, and they didn't play him out of fear or stubbornness or some behind-the-scenes grudge match, that will go down as one of the biggest fumbles in franchise history. And considering this is the Browns we're talking about, that's saying a lot. But there's still time. Not much, but enough. Enough to stop the bleeding. Enough to pull the trigger. Enough to rebuild the trust and salvage what could still be a defining moment in the franchise's story. The turning point. The moment the Browns finally chose talent over politics. Future over fear. But if they wait too long, if they let the noise drown out the signal, if they keep playing musical chairs at quarterback while Shedeur stays sidelined, if they let another game go by without giving him a single meaningful snap, they're not just risking a bad season, they're risking their legacy. And here's the irony. Shedeur doesn't need the Browns. But the Browns? They might need him more than they've ever needed anyone. He's young, he's hungry, and he has the kind of upside that franchises dream about. You either lean into that and build, or you let it rot behind a clipboard while your season circles a drain. So here we are, a locker room in revolt, a quarterback bench without cause, a fan base on edge, a franchise dangling on the edge of a cliff, one step away from making the leap, or from falling, again, into irrelevance. What is it going to be, Cleveland? The Shaduer Sanders saga isn't just a controversy. It's a mirror. And the reflection? Well, it's not looking great right now. But maybe this is the moment they finally get it right. And if not, you better believe we'll be here, popcorn in hand, breaking down every glorious second of the meltdown. You ever seen a franchise gaslight itself? Because that's what this feels like. The Browns are standing in a burning kitchen, smoke detectors screaming, and Stefanski's like, "We're fine. Everything is fine. This is part of the plan." Really? Your team is fracturing from the inside. Players are leaking details to the press like they're auditioning for Hard Knocks, Dysfunction Edition. Your future quarterback is sitting in a hoodie on the sidelines while fans chant his name from the bleachers like a protest rally. And your response is to try out the same generic quarterback carousel we've seen a dozen times before? The same tired excuses? The same empty press conference phrases about trusting the process? Please, at this point, the only process is denial. You can almost feel it, that creeping dread hanging over the facility. Like everyone knows something's coming, but no one wants to be the first to say out loud. It's the same kind of tension you get in a bad relationship, right before someone packs a bag. And the Browns? They're dangerously close to finding out what happens when an entire fan base files for divorce. Because the city isn't dumb. Cleveland knows football. These fans have endured more heartbreak than most fan bases can imagine. They can smell the dysfunction a mile away. And now, they're watching it unfold in real time, week after week, as the Browns fumble yet another chance to turn the page. You remember the hope, right? That brief flicker of optimism after Shedeur was drafted? That feeling that maybe, just maybe, this was a turning point? That finally, they were going to stop overthinking everything and just let talent lead? Yeah, that hope is dying. Fast. And honestly, the most maddening part? It didn't have to be this way. This should have been a redemption arc. This should have been the story of the Browns finally getting it right, investing in a young quarterback, letting him grow, letting him lead. A fresh start, a new era. Instead, we're watching a slow-motion implosion that feels less like strategy and more like sabotage. Sabotage of Shedeur. Sabotage of the fans' trust. Sabotage of any real progress the team could be making, if they weren't so busy trying to avoid being wrong. And let's talk about that, because this is where it gets real. This isn't just incompetence. This is fear. Fear of being called out. Fear of accountability. Fear that if Shedeur goes in and thrives, it's going to expose every bad decision made up until now. That's what's really happening here. They're not afraid he'll fail. They're afraid he'll succeed. And you know what? That fear is valid. Because if Shaduer Sanders comes in and starts lighting it up, how do you justify not starting him earlier? How do you explain keeping him behind quarterbacks who couldn't move the chains if you handed them a GPS and a Segway? You can't. Not without admitting that the locker room was right, the fans were right, and the media was right. And for some reason, that kind of honesty is just too heavy for this front office to carry. So instead, we get this weird purgatory. This bizarre standoff where everyone knows what needs to happen, but no one wants to be the one to pull the trigger. And meanwhile, the locker room is boiling over. Players have started tuning out. You can see it in their eyes during games. You can hear it in the thinly veiled comments during interviews. They're done pretending. They're done being gaslit into thinking this team is being run with any kind of clarity. And once you lose the room, that's it. That's game over. Because you can always come back from a losing streak. You can recover from a bad trade, a rough injury stretch, even a blown playoff run. But when the guys in that locker room stop believing in the leadership, you're not a team anymore. You're just 53 guys clocking in, waiting for the offseason. And Shedeur, he's stuck right in the middle of it, watching, waiting, being patient. And honestly, it's impressive how composed he stayed through all of this, how he hasn't lashed out, how he hasn't thrown the organization under the bus, even though, let's be real, they've practically handed him the keys to do it. But you can feel it, that quiet storm building. He knows what's happening. He knows the team is fractured. He knows there are coaches in the building who don't want to give him a shot because it messes with their plan. And yet, every week, he's still showing up, still grinding, still waiting for the Browns to stop being scared of their own reflection. And the league sees it too. Other teams are watching this unfold and taking notes. Every sideline Shedeur stands on is another opportunity for some other GM to whisper to their scouting team, if he shakes loose, we're going after him hard. Because this isn't just a QB drama. It's a future-on-the-line, career-altering, franchise-defining moment. And the Browns are botching it in front of everyone. The sad part? We've been here before. It's almost tradition at this point. Cleveland finds something good, something promising, and instead of nurturing it, they micromanage it to death. They talk themselves out of it. They second-guess it until it's too late. Then they ship it off, wipe their hands, and start the same cycle all over again. Wash, rinse, rebuild. How many times are we going to do this? At what point do the Browns just admit that they've got the guy and let him play? Let him lead. Let him fail, even, because failure is still better than this half-baked limbo they're stuck in. And if they don't, if they keep playing scared, then they deserve every ounce of what's coming. The fan exodus, the media ridicule, the locker room meltdown, the season sliding into irrelevance before Halloween. They earned it, because you can only ignore reality for so long before it punches back. And right now, that reality is wearing a headset, holding a clipboard, and wondering if he'll ever get his chance to prove that he was right where he needed to be the whole time. Look, the window is small. The clock is ticking. And Shaduer Sanders' patience, while impressive, isn't infinite. If the Browns want to salvage anything, this season, this roster, this reputation, they have to make a move. Not next month. Not after the bye week. Now. Because what's waiting on the other side of inaction isn't pretty. It's ugly. It's empty stadium seats. It's anonymous sources tear your franchise apart one quote at a time. It's watching your future star light it up somewhere else while you're stuck wondering what could have been. And that's the kind of mistake that haunts franchises for decades. So to the Cleveland Browns, do something. Take a risk. Start Shedeur. Let him show you what everyone else already sees. Because if you don't, well, let's just say we'll be here for that meltdown, too. You know what to do. Drop your thoughts below. Tell us who you think should be starting. And if you're as done with the Browns clown show as we are, hit that subscribe button. We got more drama, more disasters, and more football chaos coming your way. Because this saga is far from over.